When you first think of China, what comes to mind?
I think if you look at China today, you see a country, a massive country, taking some major strides in terms of economy. A communistic state that in the past was, I guess, kind of called the sleeping giant, but which is growing much larger in terms of real strength today in both economy as well as global activity.
So, when people say they believe that China is going to overtake the American economy in my generation, do you think that's a possibility?
I think it's something that we've got to recognize is a potential possibility. I mean, I think what you find out is China as a country has a growth rate of about 10%, whereby the United States as a country has an unemployment rate of about 10%. So those two factions and the capability that China has in terms of exporting product, which is threefold over what the U.S. does today, yes, you need to be concerned.
So, what are the things you think that the U.S. can do to overcome China?
Well, I think one of the things we have to do as a country is find a way where we even out the export to import trade deficit that exists there. And one of the things that we find today in the world is that China is, while they are exporting a large amount of product, they're not really importing product. And I think if we work on a way to even out that basis across the board, that would help quite a bit. And I think another thing that we can do is American-based companies in China today need to continue on to use the strengths that we have in terms of technology and so forth, and to continue to build that even in offshore areas like China.
So, do you think America should not send its companies over to China for factory type labor?
Well, obviously with that particular mind, in fact, there have been years and years where we've actually been able to use China's cheap labor as a means of driving products over here and getting people to continue to buy. I think we need to be careful of how many companies we continue to send over to China and find a way to create really much more of a production model within the United States as well. So I don't think I think it's helped to a certain point, but I think we need to be cautious on how far we continue to aid China and hurt our own workforce.
Do you think America should take on the educational beliefs that China has been using in the way of stressing testing over music and creativity?
Well, there's been a lot of press on things like Tiger Moms in China, and the urgency to really push education policies over there. I think what you find is, while that might be the case, and there was even a recent study done where I think the U.S. had fallen to 17th or so on a global basis against China, who was one. We got to be leery of those studies as well, because what you found out in that particular study was the number one was based out of Shanghai, which is a high educational base, and some of the standards on global education differ than what we have. So I think we all have to put a heavier impetus on the U.S. education system, and I do. I think the notion of preparing just for tests need to provide a more far-ranging educational policies.
Lastly, do you think that America should? Do you think that it would be the worst thing if China did overcome the U.S. economy?
I think it would be. I think it would be a very difficult situation to overtake once that was done. If you look at China, that's a country of 1.3 billion people. The United States has 300 million people. Once they overcome and begin to educate the entire country, and much of China is going to urban right now, as opposed to, for years and years, it was a rural-based economy scale. Yeah, I think it is. So I think we've got to find a way to strengthen our own objectives. I think one of the ways we do that is perhaps even cut back on military, and still maintain what we do as the global leader within that, But yeah, I think it is. I think it would be a problem if China did overtake us. But I don't think that that's an issue that's going to happen over the next couple of years. But I think we need to ensure that economically we don't allow it to happen at all.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.